Out here today at the Foreman-Roberts House Museum in Carson City, Nevada. Waiting until they open. We're gonna go do a little walkthrough. So I hope you enjoy the video. I appreciate your watching. Do a little outside picture taking before they open. Actually, I guess it's not a picture, it's a video. Beautiful Mother's Day out. Weather's just perfect. Look at that. Home built in the 1800s. They got air conditioning. Who knew? They tried to tell us as kids they had a hard life. How do you have a hard life with air conditioning? Carriage house, but now it's got doors on it instead of carriage doors. Ah, there we go. There are the carriage doors.
In here, his son said it was on the railroad, but there was a tunnel at the top of the hill, so it couldn't have been through that way. So it might.
So this was a town in Washoe City, which would have been where the mansion is sitting over there.
Near Windsor's Ranch.
Wow.
And, near Bowers. And this is Carson City now, and it's been moved. This is Washoe City, where the house was. Right here, it was being painted. And that's when it was in Old Washoe City. And they're sitting up on the mountain as you go on the old highway, up on the side. I was up there. And this is a photographer. He was using a string to pull to take the picture. So this is an old mill that was there. They had a courthouse and a church, and churches, it was a big deal.
Wow.
Then when the trains came through, they didn't need Washoe City anymore. But this is a great place to grow things, so they supplied food for the whole area. This is Washoe Lake. I think this is Little Washoe Lake, and this is the other one. So, and then they moved the house here in 1870. In the news article that it was moved here and they were reassembling it, so maybe they took it apart. But this is Annie, and this is Josie, her daughter, who's 20 in this picture. So the house was placed 20 years ago at this point. See all the fruit trees? Mm-hmm. In Carson City was hard to grow anything, and there was no water source. But since they put the house here, it was on an earthquake fault. And also there were artesian wells all along the earthquake fault. So they had water coming up. They could plant their trees, have their fruit trees.
See, that's something you don't ever hear about, is that there was actually a city or a town in Washoe until now.
Yeah, that's right. In fact, this was, I'll get back to that later. This is the lean-to kitchen, and see how far it goes out. And then it comes out on this side and goes way back. At the house, when the last owner had it, he died, and the property came into the hands of the city. They tore down the lean-to kitchen. It was in really bad shape, apparently. So it was gone, and they were going to tear down the rest because this is on railroad ties here. So they had the prisoners from the Nevada State Prison, 20, 30, and the community came together. The prisoners lifted the house up and put a new foundation under it. And that's when the organization was formed. It was originally called Nevada Landmarks, and now it's called Carson City Historical Society.
Now, my understanding with the old homes, the reason they had lean-to kitchens was they kept the kitchen separated from the house in case of fire. Is that?
It could be that it, but I think it was attached.
It was attached?
Yeah. I wasn't there, but that sure does look attached to me. But, and the other stories.
Well, they had like a hallway from my understanding, but that was the only thing that would attach the house. Because my grandparents had an older 1800s house, and the kitchen had been added on after the fact.
Well, that's how they did it. So,
Yeah.
But this was already built in Washoe City, so they just moved it along. There are a bunch of sheds in the back too. So there's a story about them. I'll tell you.
Must have been a beautiful area when that was up there.
Yeah, it was. It's still beautiful.
And who are they, Lynch sisters?
And Etta and Netta Lynch.
What did they do?
They're Willie Lynch's daughters. Willie Lynch was a porter at the Mint. He was also a porter at the B&T, and he played violin. He was there when Lincoln was assassinated, and he worked for the vice president, and he could play the violin beautifully. And when he came here, he played the violin too. He raised his kids here. And these are all Carson City, Tahoe. I do a column for the paper. My brother and I do past pages. Thank you.
So pretty. I would imagine it's the carriage house.
I think they got some of these pictures in the museum of the orphanage here in Carson City, but I'm not 100%. Look like old medicine bottles, maybe maybe some whiskey bottles, beer bottles.
Those are the bottles under the Foreman-Roberts House.
Those look like, if I'm right, medicine bottles and maybe beer and whiskey bottles.
Yeah. I don't know exactly. We tried to save Adele's, and in the process, somebody that used to work there had a house built with the blueprints from the blueprint plans of the house. It's a Gothic revival, and it was built in 1864 and moved here in 1873. There were 5 children in this house at one time. She had 9. So, this is the parlor, and this is Josie, their daughter, who worked for Governor Sparks. This is the grandson, Philip McGrath, who was in Oakland. This is the last survivor of the home, Foreman-Roberts, and that's his wife, Hattie. She was walking across the street and she was killed. I think it was 1964 or something. So there were no heirs anywhere. So that's another rendering of the Foreman-Roberts house. The outside of the doors have the same Gothic design. Most of the house is original. When Thurman died, people came in and took whatever they wanted, so we don't have much except the pictures. But the neighbor who knew Annie donated these chairs and the settee, and the stove. 2 stoves, there's one upstairs. That's Solomon Foreman. He built the house. And then after a year, he sold it to a couple of investors. And then that's Mary Roberts. She was a teacher in Oakland, but she's also a teacher in Carson. These people survived. Everyone up and passed away very young, except for James Stone and Annie. So let's go into the dining room.
Okay.
The floors are original. This is, in the early days when A. Curry was here, he was a founder of Carson City. He wanted all the houses to face the state capitol, the porches to face the state capitol. So this is why it's this way. And it has a Gothic design again.
Oh, wow.
And the outside
Outside the door over here.
The outside of the door has a Gothic design too. He's from Ohio. That's Richard Roberts. He was a spiritualist. He brought people back from the dead and did sleigh riding, and he was sort of like a savant because he could play the piano. He never had any lessons.
Did he play this piano over here?
No. James came from Ohio. I think he- So there was a bathroom. There is a bathroom here now, but when the house first came here, they didn't have an indoor bathroom.
Was that the one with the?
This one. These are some maps that were donated to us. This is a Wheeler map, and this is a Carson City street map. Here's a picture of Abe's Town again. This is on loan from the State Museum. This is a framed picture of James Roberts and his house when it was placed here, probably in October. And the kids are outside. There were 5 kids that were living in this house at one point. This is an Indian, a watch with an Indian carved in it, a medallion. I think it has an Indian on it, yeah. And this is his original certificate. This was found at a gun show in Las Vegas, this whole thing. And we had to buy it back to put it on the wall. It was very expensive. So he was in the Pyramid Lake War. Are you guys local?
Dayton.
Dayton?
Yeah.
He was in the Pyramid. James Stone died, and he applied for a pension from the Indian Wars, and she received a pension. And remember I told you about the Lynches? Mm-hmm. Well, he brought Willie Lynch out here and gave him a job at the mint. And then the steps were like this big. And it's because people are smaller than him. And he eat all that. And the kids were little. Carson Street. I don't know what the date was. I think it was probably around 1900 or 1899. That's the Lysol building there. It's still there. And behind it is the Opera House that burned in the 1930s. And then behind that, in the front on the street, is Collins Emporium. And he had a little zoo there of Nevada animals, and he loved all of them. Over to the left, next to the buildings, is a calliope. So we had a circus come into town, and that's why there's such a variety of people. I don't know why they're having an event then, but anyway. So, you wanna go upstairs? Old stove. And stuff.
I know what that is. My mom had one of these.
A sifter.
A sifter.
This is donated by Nina Sprague's family. And this is donated by Randy Felice, who bought this from Bud Coletti when he was still alive. So would you like to see the upstairs?
Yeah, we can go upstairs and.
Let me show you a picture, and I'm not going to go upstairs with you because of trouble with my back.
Okay.
This is the train that carried Theodore Roosevelt in 1903. He came to Carson City, and there was a big parade along, not along Carson, but the Telegraph Street. And this was Reno. And see how they decorated in the old days?
Mm-hmm.
Everything was so special. And now it's like incredibly, people don't care anymore. But that's my opinion. And then these, like I said, these stairs have
Is
been
this like an old hat box?
and if you'll notice, there are 2 sets of keys, a set for caps and a set for small letters. That was Hattie Hale's typewriter when she worked for Governor Sparks. And then on this side, there's a sewing machine. Most sewing machines, treadle sewing machines, have 2 threads. This only has 1. It's really unusual. So,
Sorry for the darkness, I had to change my video settings. Old steamer trunk. Well, that concludes our video today of the Foreman-Roberts House. I hope you enjoyed. If you enjoyed our video, please remember to share it with a friend and subscribe. I appreciate it. Thank you. Have a great Mother's Day.
Nickelodeon. All I want is having you and music, music, music. I'd do anything for you, anything you want me to. All I want is kissing